It's March 26, 2022. Today I want to get into an issue that I've been kind of thinking about for some time but hadn't gotten around to, and that's this issue was generally called the Great Reset, or what, and which is kind of ultimately becomes a bit of an ambiguous thing. It was utilized, the World Economic Forum led by a German named Klaus Schwab, and one of his colleagues put out a book called this, relating it to COVID, but it existed before then. And it seems like the term "Build Back Better" is one of the catchphrases of this movement as well. And I think we recognize that from the Biden administration's rhetoric and plans and policies. And it's a really interesting situation, but it probably is one of the biggest domestic threats we really face in a way, if we could figure out exactly what it is. But it seems like it's like about everything conservatives don't like that's going on now is somehow folded into this general concept. I mean, of course, I think this all started, I think, when Hillary Clinton with with the Russian foreign minister had a reset button. That's Lavrov there, and they were going to push the reset button to fix things up. Well, gee, since then things have really progressed in a very productive way, you might say. Not really. So anyhow, but that's the kind of thing I'm going to get into today, and it seems to involve a lot of the multinational large corporations are kind of one of the big factors in this whole thing. In my when I started these videos, back in the election year of 2020, fairly early on, I posed the thought that the election of the Democrats in 2020 would increase the rates of what I referred to at the time as a form of fascism, and I think we were beginning to see kind of what that might be. By the way, if you like these videos, please subscribe, give me a like. You can click the bell for notifications, and comments are appreciated. Yeah, now I was, it's hard to know what you want to use the term fascism, of course. The term originally came out of the Italian government under Mussolini and has often been associated with the Nazi government under Hitler, although the Hitler form also had a certain, let's say, very vindictive racial ethnic component to it, and that wasn't as present in the Italian variant as much, and isn't necessary, because fundamentally what it generally means is a situation where there's a kind of a unity of purpose and control between the government and industry, and that's essentially the idea of what that sort of system is, and that seems to be what we're facing now in a lot of ways. For instance, the old idea of socialism that we saw in the communist revolutions of starting with Russia in 1917 was the idea that the government would directly own the means of production. That is to say, your car factory, your airplane factory, your toothbrush factory, whatever, is actually a government-owned institution, run and owned by the government, and so everybody basically works for the government. Of course, there was a black market going on there, as always, because of the inefficiencies of government, but that's a sort of thing that it was. But the new idea, which is sort of the way that the Nazis and the Italian fascists did things, and the Japanese, and in fact, is that the private industry still exists, private capital still exists, but it's highly regulated by the government bureaucrats, so that effectively they achieve their socialistic aims without actually owning the means of production directly, but controlling them through intensive regulations. And that's what we're seeing right now with the Biden administration and other Democrat administrations. I think that's essentially the direction they're going in. But you add to it this whole reset concept that's from the World Economic Forum, where they all meet in Davos every year and plot and scheme, I guess. I'm not going to get totally conspiratorial. I'm not going to go the whole route there. I mean, there are these sort of people out there, and it's hard to know exactly how deep this thing goes, but increasingly we are running into it becoming a more of a controlled society. There's no doubt that the so-called cancel culture is sort of a way to basically discipline public discourse and effectively control politics, or attempt to. And of course, this is most notorious in educational institutions and various bureaucracies, and in a lot of corporate America. I mean, I got out of that game a couple of years ago, I was probably in one of the more conservative companies around, so they were late to the game, that's for sure. And so I don't know what the situation's like there now, but in a lot of the more, let's say, commercial kind of companies, I think trendy companies, it's a real thing, and since people's jobs are at stake, it is effective. One of the that's one of the things you have to watch out for in all this. I mean, one thing that's come up recently is in the Disney organization, where you have a lot of LGBTQ activists that have gotten in there over the years, and they've sort of skewed a lot of the films. A lot of people think that this sort of woke culture, got into for instance, the last three Star Wars films, and has created kind of a muted response among the fans to what had been in the earlier episodes of this product. And so there was an attempt by the new management there to try to move back to kind of a politically neutral, get away from this kind of thing, which has now led very recently to rebellion within Disney of the, I guess, the middle ranks, I guess, against this. And it was stimulated partly by a bill that was about parental rights, and basically was trying to say don't expose children through the kindergarten through third grade to explicit sexual education. I think the main thing was to not get into all this gay and transgender stuff. However, it would also block similar education for normal heterosexual topics as well. The idea was that they're just too young to get into that until at least you get into the fourth grade. Gee. So in my day, I think it was the seventh grade. I think the girls got something in the sixth grade, but we were sent out to a special recess for that. But at any rate, the point is, and I would say that what we got then was fairly mild, but anyhow, I think that this is this example of the kind of thing going on in corporate America, and you'll have this whole thing of boycotting, giving contributions to Republicans or Republican leaning news organizations. I think there's been an ongoing battle in the Tucker Carlson program of most of your mainstream companies have backed off, and now you have a lot of like My Pillow ads and charity drive ads and a variety of things that don't look like mainstream corporate America like you used to, because they're kind of boycotting. And this is going to have a potential effect on the political system. Then, of course, notorious is the thing YouTube and Twitter, and Facebook are notorious for their censorship. In fact, I don't know. In my case, for the moment, by the way, I haven't run into it personally, but I think I'm so, below, under the radar, because I have such a limited number of followers. Thanks to all of you who are, all 64 of you. And the 201, I think right now, last I checked, maybe it's 202 on Twitter. I actually did get Laura Logan following me on Twitter the other day. I hope that's one of the first checkmarked people I think that I've gotten. So that's good. But I'm just saying at that point, probably not that many people in Silicon Valley care what I'm saying. And I'm probably kind of, calm about the way I express myself. I don't go for hyperbole as much. And that's a deliberate ploy on my part, too, by the way. I may really be a lot more passionate than I sometimes come off with in these videos. But the point is that this is a real, I think, problem to our civil liberties and our future in the country. And if we have corporations in league with a political party, the Democrat Party, which has gone totally off the rails practically. I mean, you only have a handful of Democrats at the national level who won't vote for, anything. In fact, Joe Manchin has just announced he's going to vote for Ketanji Brown, who doesn't know can't say what a woman is, for the Supreme Court, even though one of her claims to fame for being picked is that she is a black woman. Um, and it is kind of funny though that when this lady about and years ago, I forgot her name, that out in Seattle, I think it was, actually claimed that although she was white, she identified as black. Nobody would let her do that, but a male can identify as a female and win in swimming competitions. The idiocracy of this stuff continues, so who knows where it ends. But I think this is all kind of mixed together in a mishmash that really is a threat to us all, and I think that means I really urge everybody to support Republican candidates and contribute, if you can, to Republican Party organizations, the Senate and House committees, or the individual candidates in your district or state, if you want to. The problem I have with the party apparatus is that as soon as you give them anything online, they immediately start sending you snail mail from every direction, end up burning up more money, I think, on the snail mail than you're likely to be giving them, unless you're really a big contributor, and most people might just want to give $25 on a given occasion, and that probably ends up with $25 worth of snail mail, which I don't know if there's any way to tell these people not to do this, because in the modern world, you can just give it online, and emails, of course, are cheap, and that they end up filling up your email account with spam. I'm digressing on that, but you get the idea. But I think we have to stand firm in this and stick to our viewpoints. By the way, you can follow me on my social media accounts too. I'm on Twitter, Gab, Parler, and Gettr. I post primarily on Twitter still because I have more followers there primarily, but I post links to videos and occasional comments on the others. And I do post these videos on Rumble as well, because you never know when the axe comes down, But I subscribe to me on Rumble also, or whatever they call it over there. I'm still not as familiar with it, but I do post over there. I'm not, And I have gotten, I think, 20 some Rumbles so far, which I guess is their version of a like over there, I think. So anyhow, well, I'll wrap this up for now. But this is an ongoing problem. This corporate political fusion and the big corporations, which is a kind of form of a fascism, I'd say, and it is a real threat to our independence and our political freedom. Okay, I'll wrap this up for now, and until next time.